up, guys? This is Underground Outsiders, and today I'm with.
Two fucking colors, aka Crimson Gray.
How you doing, man? How you feeling about this interview today?
Uh, I feel a little delirious right now. I feel like I'm like Macho Man Randy Savage drinking the cream of the crop right now. You know.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you mean by that? What? What the fuck you expect me to say to that, bro? Oh my god! Like my brain was scanning for an answer for like a good 5 seconds, and it was just like I can't come up with anything. like you're on your own. Oh my
No,
god,
no,
bro.
no. Yo,
Oh my
I just
god.
mean that. Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know what word is not gonna trip you up because my spirit level,
Mhm.
my power level is a little off the chain right now. I'm
Mhm.
like just I'm out in the matrix. You know.
Mhm.
That's all I can say.
Would you like describe it as like slightly nervous? I
No,
don't know.
I'm not nervous.
Oh.
No, no. This is me unhinged. That's what
Mhm.
I'm unhinged.
All right. That's a
I'm,
better word to describe it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
All right. All right. Let's get into these questions.
yeah, for sure.
For those who for those who don't know, what do you do and where are you from?
I make music, and just now I'm actually getting into voice acting.
Mhm.
And I used to live in New York on the East Coast. Now I'm in the South, baby. I'm in the
Mhm.
South.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
How is like the difference
uh,
between like the South and like living in New York? Like how big of a difference is that?
I mean, it's literally really big. It's like you go across the whole country and you go from like really clicky, directly asshole people to just they're like nicer and they actually care about your character more, but they're very sly about how they talk shit to you. A
Mhm.
lot of people, 9 out of 10, they just kind of have like little weird quips,
Mhm.
like a sideways talk.
Mhm.
Um, so it's kind of a culture shock to kind of get used to like someone just saying, "Oh, bless your heart," rather than "Hey, go fuck yourself, dumbass."
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's what I like
shit
about New
like
York.
that.
We just say it like
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah, yeah. True.
Yeah. So, what is
Don't.
like the biggest challenge with that, like moving from New York to there?
Um. Well, honestly, beyond all that, it's just kind of like I would say it's just not even like a whole regional thing. It's just like a life experience thing because of like my predicament. It's
Mhm.
just having to grow up and like be literally every day on the day, like where I live, every single day something happens.
Mhm.
Every day. It could be like when I describe a boring day in the South, it'll be after like I have encountered like a big lady that just like smells horrible. There's like a car lot party somewhere going on. Like, there's like these people running up gambling machines or somewhere and like digging through trash and ripping through. I left my wallet in there. Can you please dig out the wallet? Oh no. And then like you find that the wallet's in the dashboard of their car. Like they just left it there and they were just like off their rocker.
Oh my
That's a
god.
boring day where I
Mhm.
live.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, I was very hermit like. I never left, and where I lived was so rural and dead, like it was just
Mhm.
really dead, that nothing really happened unless you went like within a town or a city.
Mhm.
That's kind of
You're
like what
talking
it
about
was.
living in New York, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Where in New
I
York
would say
where in New York did you actually live? Was it like upstate New York? Like where was it?
it was that's classified information.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you can't say that, but like
it's classified information.
oh
I
my
mean,
god.
no, if yeah, no.
Mhm.
All I'm gonna say about that is that it was north enough.
Mhm. Yeah.
It was just super dead.
Mhm.
Um, I live in a heroin town. I'll tell you that much.
Mhm.
It was like really like the most action you'd see is just kind of like up and coming shithead like trailer park kids, and that was
Mhm.
kind of it. Other
Yeah.
than that, it's just like your kind of typical dysfunctional racist white people.
Mhm.
Um,
So,
yeah.
how long have you been living in the South, and like does that have like do they have like a big music scene over there if you're even interested in that scene?
Uh, I mean, I've lived here. I want to say almost a year.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll say this. There's definitely a music scene. I could definitely tap into it.
Hmm.
It's just more so like I just don't know how to do it or like when's the right time. And I definitely don't have like a lot of resources yet to really get to do that yet. But
Hmm.
definitely I would say the South in terms of like the type of music I'm in or like the type of music I make and like the people that I grew up with, like even before, like online.
Hmm.
Yeah, the South has a lot of stuff like that, like metal, definitely hip hop. The South is basically your best go to, especially for the underground sound. Like a
Hmm.
lot of people in the South love that shit. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
All right. So, how did you first get into the music scene?
Oh, how did I get into the music scene?
Yeah.
My homie Musin, who is now a DJ for Tala.
Hmm.
That guy is honestly the dopest dude. I actually just talked to him yesterday after like months of not being able to really talk to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, that guy's just living his best life. He's now able to do YouTube live streams. So
Hmm.
if you ever want to listen to some guy that's like a part of a metal band that actually loves underground music and like listens to shit like that,
Hmm.
go check him out on YouTube. It's Musin. Like he's really cool. I just was there last night. He was like laughing at Spider Gang music videos and
Hmm.
looking at a whole bunch of shit. And he really is currently obsessed with MK Ultra. I know that for a fact.
Hmm.
So yeah.
All right. So,
Um,
about the voice acting thing, like, how did you discover you wanted to do that?
like I kind of mentioned how I always wanted to do voice acting ever since I was a kid, like with
Hmm.
Mark Hamill and all that as my inspirations.
Yeah.
Um, I was just a pussy about it. Like
Hmm.
that was kind of like the best way I could describe it because like a lot of my music, especially the concept stuff I've been making the past couple years, is kind of it was like the substitute to just voice acting, especially with concept albums where I play a protagonist and I have like voiced monologue sections and certain ambient soundscape. I guess you call it buffers or interludes or
Hmm.
whatnot. Um, the truth is, are you picking up like this fucking like echoey sound, like this little? Are you
No,
picking that up?
no, I
Um,
didn't hear shit.
okay. All right.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry about that tangent.
No, that's cool.
So yeah, those two concept albums, that was kind of like my attempt to voice act as like a little safety net. And it's really funny to think about that like I'm more comfortable being a vocalist and like making music than I was ever voice acting
Hmm.
until I just did it like 4 or 5 months ago.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of overlap between being a vocalist and a voice actor,
Yeah, I was just
especially
about
if
to
you're
ask you
rapping.
that question. I was just about to ask you that. Like, what is like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
overlap?
So, and this is just straight up the truth.
Hmm.
When you're rapping, you're acting.
Hmm.
That's just straight up what it is. You have to act as a rapper. What I mean by that is the same thing that you're gonna learn when it comes to like these three things I'm gonna tell you. Actually, I have a whole list I can pull up. There's resonance, accent, intonation, vocal weight, and pitch.
Hmm.
And those four things, they kind of loosely explain it. I'm not really good at explaining a lot of things.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, let's say there's a trap metal beat or like a really hardcore beat, right?
Hmm.
It's just really thumping. You got to be like aggressive. Vocal weight would probably be your best bet of how to rap on that. Where
Hmm.
you can't just be like, I was cruising down the street. You can't just do that. It sounds like shit. I was cruising down the street. You gotta be like, I was cruising down the street. You know,
Hmm.
right there, you have vocal weight. When you got that grit, right? And there's an accent or an intonation that you do with that voice,
Hmm.
right? So people don't really think about it when they talk, but I've kind of picked this up my whole life whenever I would like talk to certain people. Your voice will change subconsciously, just depending on the type of people you run into, the people you grew up with, what kind of environment you grew up in as well. So, taking that idea and taking it to the idea of how to be a good rapper is kind of the same way of how to be a good voice actor, where you
Hmm.
have to match the tone entirely of what you're trying to say and also what the beat calls for. So let's say it's like a lo-fi beat, right?
Hmm.
Like something really like calm and whatever. You're not gonna really pull up with like a DMX, and just go. Arr, arr. You're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? You're gonna probably do more like a, I guess, from what I've heard, like monotone to very like soft voice.
Hmm.
Same thing with voice acting. It's all about trying to fit yourself to the role of what you're auditioning for.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where the comparisons begin and end. Because after that point, um, the what makes voice acting super different from music is much more of an audio technical thing.
Hmm.
So with audio technical stuff, you could get away with a lot of messy junk in a typically like at least an underground song, right? Like
Yeah.
you could have background noise, you can have clipping, you can have like disgusting, a lot of like low end, whatever. You could get away with a lot in voice acting when you're sending audio files over to people, right? Like when you're auditioning, you
Yeah.
can't do that. You need to have noise reduction. You need to actually like learn how to really mix your stuff, how to really brighten your voice, and you need to, this is very important, make sure you're crisp and clear. No muddy anything, no muffle, none of that. So voice acting actually taught me how to level up my mixing in a lot of ways that I never thought about, because again, I could always hide these really ugly noises in a vocal, right? Just slapped over a beat. You never really think about that stuff. Obviously, what I'm admitting right now, most professionals are like, well, in a studio, you would actually still have to have an ISO. Like, yeah, but I don't have a studio. I live in like my bedroom and I record in my bedroom. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would say those are the huge differences and overlap is the technical mixing aspect. And another thing too, voice acting, as well as I could help with saying how it overlaps with like, at least rapping and just music. It's really hard to actually get the tone right of like what the other person that you're auditioning for, like to that person, what they want in a character. You know what I mean? Because with rap, that's your character as, that rapper, whatever voice you're making. When you're auditioning though for a role, you have to match the vision of someone else.
Yeah. I can see how
And
that
that's,
could be very difficult, man.
yeah, yeah. So long explanation, but I hope that basically explains all of that.
Hmm. All right. So, what are like some of your personal challenges when it comes to like voice acting?
I think right now I'm currently in a weird dilemma where I I've been complimented a lot that I'm really good at my range, that I actually have a good range, that I could work pretty fast and efficient, that I always like, have a good rapport with people. I think my biggest difficulty is that I get stuck in certain habits of how to voice a character. So, the best way that I could say what my voice typically goes into is more of like an action video game to kind of like a anime character,
Hmm.
something around that spectrum. When it comes to like trying to voice anything else for like whatever other genre or whatever other way, I'm very limited. Especially like say if I was to voice a young like male adult character in like a romance or like a rom-com, I couldn't do that
Yeah, it'll
shit
be
because I
difficult for
don't I
you.
don't yeah, because I don't digest that. So a
Hmm.
lot of how I even do voices is very much inspired by constantly what I was surrounding myself with media about, like what I would look up to in terms of the stuff that I loved about voice acting. And a lot of that is anime and video games. So, um, in that regard, I would say that it's basically just having to expand my horizons
Hmm.
and having to study more of certain nuances for certain things, like if I ever wanted to be in something a lot more intimate or romantic or whatever.
Hmm.
um Other than that, I would say, and this is very much the same thing with like metal screams, I tend with voice acting, especially if I injured myself from doing whatever like outside of voice acting, I tend to do certain bad habits that actually hurt me. Not like my voice, but like more so that I actually agitate my voice quite a bit if I like have lower back pain like I did actually last week, and then I'm trying to do like a really deep voice, and because my voice is naturally up here, trying to do more of this voice is very difficult, and it's like I'm struggling to even drop my balls, a little bit. But yeah, you like the struggle there, you could hear it, and that's kind of the difficulty threshold. It's just kind of like retaining a certain voice throughout. And because I'm a very stubborn bastard, I just will myself through it. But with voice acting, especially, you can't, like, I don't want to end up doing that. So I'm trying my best to just take my time, be very patient with myself, which is a hard thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just pretty much go from there. I'm gonna do it at some point, but for anyone listening that actually is interested about this shit, get a fucking vocal coach for voice acting. Like, that is probably the best thing, because I'm gonna actually save up money at some point to do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if I have like naturally this or that, or like I've actually paid attention to certain things, that doesn't matter. I'm not a master. I've just, I can only say that I've gotten a lot more success with this than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what is the current project you're working on for voice acting? I don't know if it's already out, but I looked on your page and there's like a video game link.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so so far, a lot of it is just like very volunteer work because I like to build a portfolio and a resume and all that before whatever. Right now, I'm very invested in the Fallout modding scene. So I'm actually doing a ton of like voice acting for my new friend of mine, Cell Block Psycho, who, if you're ever on Nexus mods in terms of Fallout New Vegas, you've probably heard of him from like the Dorito series, where he's like modded literally a whole story about Dorito in Fallout New Vegas. He is making this crazy mod called Come Wander with Me that basically is like 7 new open worlds, if I remember. I don't quote me, but it's like 7 new world spaces that you could go through as the player when you download this mod, and it has like all these cool, insane themes. Like, it has like literal horror elements to it, paranormal stuff. Obviously, it's not like it breaks lore either. It does have like lore-friendly reasons and content for it. And I voice quite a bit of stuff in it. One of the things I definitely can reveal is that I voice a bunch of raiders. So you're gonna hear me a lot when you're shooting at people. And then all I'm gonna say is, look out for the bear. I'm not gonna say anything more than that, but it's a little special thing that you might come across called the bear. Beyond that, one of the things that I first ever wanted to voice act for, like audition for, it took me literally 5 months because I had to level up learning how to mix my stuff. It was the Fallout 2 Talking Heads restoration mod that's still currently in the works, but there's like a lot of showcase for it, like a lot of good showcase for it. Actually, I can link it to you if you want to showcase for your video.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that, so that would be nice.
So, Fallout 2, if you know, is a really old game. It's like 1997, 1996. Literally as old, if not older than me, right?
Yeah.
So, what it does is it takes a really old game and it actually adds way more voice acting than the game even had. It had like only, I want to say like 4 voice actors ever for like maybe 10 or 12 NPCs, and everyone else was like written dialogue. Like, you just have to read all of a bundle of text. So what the mod does is it literally custom makes talking head animated faces for every NPC that has, radiant quests or, obviously important dialogue. And being a part of literally restoring, like a gaming history and actually like trying to modernize it so that new people could get into it is something that it's an awesome thing to think about, because I grew up on Fallout, like since Fallout 3, obviously. And I went to the older games, but the older games are really fucking hard to get into. And they're obviously like, it was at a time when games gaming was really not what it is today. Even like in 2008, like it was just kind of gross to try to get into the gameplay mechanics of it.
Yeah.
So with Fallout 2 Restoration, like the Talking Heads, it adds kind of this more intimate layer of roleplay and immersion, where you're gonna still be playing an old game, and you're still gonna be doing like all the limited stuff that game had, with dialogue and role-playing aspects, but it's just gonna add more flavor to it. And because it's a restoration mod, it even adds extra content that was even cut from Fallout 2. So there's even more to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I voiced quite a bit of characters there. I don't know how many I'll end up voicing. I could tell you that I have a lot of voices in New Reno. So if you ever, whoever watches this in the future or whatever, if you ever want to check out the mod or whenever it's up, and you download it somehow, just look for New Reno and you'll find my voice there.
All right, one more question about voice acting. Who are some of like your
ahead.
favorite voice actors?
I mean, obviously Mark Hamill.
Mhm.
I don't. So here's the thing. I was never a big fan. I'm not gonna lie about that. But I will say his name just because, like, obviously I give respect. The voice of Batman that passed away.
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. That guy. I could tell he influenced a lot of things, just media-wise, with his voice and his presence, and just what he was a part of. That I have to give respect to that guy, because like we wouldn't really see any other crazy, amazing shit without that guy in there. So
Yeah, and
definitely
he
respects
was
to
a
that.
part of like a lot of projects, like when it comes to Batman, like
Yeah,
he's like
yeah.
literally Batman. Like when you first
Yeah,
think of Batman, like that's the first person you think of.
right. And it's the
Mhm.
same thing, obviously, with Mark Hamill, like the Joker.
Mhm.
You know, I will say, in terms of voice actors, I it's a weird thing where I honestly can't say I have any other favorite voice actors. Like, here's the thing about voice acting I like about it. What I like about voice acting is I like how it focuses more on the role of the character.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example. Like celebrities like Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
Where more times than not, you watch that movie and you just think, oh, that's Nicolas Cage, not the character's name.
Mhm.
I think, I'm not shitting on any celebrity, so this is not what I'm saying, but I think that that's kind of a horrible and tragic thing to happen when, yeah, sure, you have famous celebrities to really boost your sales or whatever, but at the end of the day, those celebrities are taking such a highlight of the art that you're making, like whatever it's a movie or whatever,
Yeah.
that the character is just basically
Gets
sidelined.
overshadowed by the hype.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
overshadowed.
Yeah.
So voice acting does this beautiful thing where it subtracts the face of the celebrity. Sure, you could hear the voice, you could recognize the voice, like Mark Hamill, obviously, but like outside of that, when you watch something like anime, video games, whatever, you're hearing that voice, and if it's executed really well, you're hearing that voice of the character, not the actor. You're not like looking at, let's say, goodness, my Spike from Cowboy Bebop. You're not looking at Spike from Cowboy Bebop and thinking, oh, I mean that's Keanu Reeves. No, you're not thinking that. You're thinking like, hey, that's Spike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, Keanu Reeves never voiced Spike, but I'm just saying as a random name. Yeah. So that's kind of what I like a lot about voice acting, is just I love how it just kind of subtracts the distraction of like the personal name. Obviously, that doesn't mean that I just want to do voices and be left in the dark. I would love to get out there more as like, oh, this is me, who did these voices. But at the end of the day, I also care a lot about what I do for a voice. That's why, like, right now, I'm mostly focusing on things that I know for a fact I'm very passionate about, like Fallout-based content to D&D, kind of like startup RPG maker games, stuff like that. Um, just stuff that's quick, simple, easy, but about things that definitely I would check out and play. So, yeah.
All right. One last question about voice acting.
All right, hit me.
What is like one intellectual property you would want to do voice acting for? It could be anything. It could even be Fallout.
Well, I mean, obviously, I would say Fallout. If I ever got like, if if someone was like, "Hey, by the way, buddy," I would definitely do that. But I would say, an intellectual property or something like that that I would want to voice for in the future. I would say honestly, anything Suda 51 related, like Killer 7, No More Heroes. Like if you know Suda 51, he made those games. And
Yeah.
obviously Killer 7's not getting a sequel anytime soon.
Yeah, it's
But
a shame.
definitely, yeah, definitely games that intellectual wise, like they just added so much to my childhood
Hmm.
in a really distorted way. No More Heroes, I would say if there was like a fourth or a fifth game, and then like there's a weird open audition for it, I'm on that
Hmm.
immediately.
Yeah.
Um, Beyond that, I would say, ooh man, I'm getting this is getting hard because there's a lot. There's a lot. I would huh.
You could like narrow it down to like three things or two things. It doesn't have to be
Okay,
like yeah.
okay. So
Mhm.
Fallout, No More Heroes, and then the last thing I would probably want to say is it's an interesting thing, and I'm only saying it because I've seen how it's kind of like gone to this way. Legend of Zelda, because I'm
Mhm.
seeing that there is actually voice acting, like actual straight up voice acting, like with Breath of the Wild and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not a huge like. My only big favorite Zelda game was Wind Waker. So if it was anything like that, oh, I'm totally on that. But anything that kind of recreates that feeling of like Wind Waker, I would basically be all set for.
Mhm.
So yeah, those kind of three I would say. Other than that, I'm free reign, man. If it's good, if it pays me well or whatever, however it's settled, I'm good to go.
Mhm. All right. Since you have like a lot of different interests, like do you have is it like harder for you to like deal with all those things at the same time?
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
am so I'm gonna butcher this quote really badly because I have no sense of retaining good information. But I'm essentially uh, a jack of all trades and about a master of none.
Yeah.
So what that means is pretty much I've devoted much of my life to different aspects of things I've always been interested in, like voice acting, music, and all that. But if people were like, "Oh man, but like, what do you say is like the best thing you're good at?" I could not tell you. I really could not tell you.
Yeah.
I could tell you that I could definitely do certain vocals better in certain aspects. Like I could definitely rap. I could definitely scream. Um, but if I was to say like, "Oh yeah, but are you like the best metal vocalist?" I would be like, "No fucking shot. I
Mhm.
don't think I, I just make songs that I like to make, and they just come out a certain way. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna capitalize on that. Same thing with voice acting. That's why, like again earlier, I would say a lot of my issues is I gotta expand my horizons because I'm kind of like more of a action-based voice. Um, so in terms of keeping up with all that, yeah, it gets difficult,
Mhm.
especially because, with how voice acting has been treating me compared to music the last literal half decade. Um, I'm kind of at a crossroad where I want to say that, like, I'm never giving up music because I love music and I've made so many amazing friends. But at the same time, I also know that there's a good part of me that doesn't want to just fully I'm not how I was in 2018 when I first started. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm not like digging my roots in like, yeah, I'm going to be, I'm opening up, I'm growing up, and I'm learning that there's more to my life than just one facet of me. There's like multiple things that I can just do, and whatever turns out for me, whether it's music, it's voice acting, it's writing, whatever the fuck, um, yeah, one of
Mhm.
those things is gonna be from the soul, and one of those things is gonna flourish.
Mhm.
And I can't say what it is, I can't tell what it is, but I'm gonna be proud of whatever comes first.
Mhm. Was it like kind of hard for you to come to terms with that, or no?
Oh, I still have issues with it today.
Mhm.
It's kind of like it's kind of a difficult. This is gonna be the weirdest analogy. I mean, dude, you compare the interview I did like 2 years ago to how I'm talking now. It's like I feel like I'm night and day about it. But basically, the weirdest analogy is like, okay, imagine this. This is a weird scenario.
Mhm.
Imagine like you're married to someone, right? Like you married someone or whatever for 5 years, and you do the same routine. You bring home the bacon, you give the money, whatever you got to do,
Mhm.
and then you come home one day and you realized, wait a minute, I love more than just this person I'm married to. I love this other person too. That's kind of what it feels like for me and voice acting and music. It's like I was married to music, right? Like I made a vow, but now like I'm seeing that my heart is also in love with another thing, and it's not like it trumps that love of music,
Mhm.
but clearly it's going to take time away from music if I want to devote to both, right? You can't just I guess like this is kind of a thing where from at least from what my friends have told me about polyamorous relationships, it's a lot like monogamy times 12 because you have to pay attention to other people. You can't just, you know, it's not like oh yeah, man, I'm going to have all these fun with all these no, you got to if you're really in a relationship with multiple people, having one with just one person is already fucking difficult. Imagine like 3 people or 4. Like yeah, you that's kind of how I feel. Is just it's a little difficult at times of what I feel I should invest. So, yeah.
All right. So, what is the story behind your album Darkest Nights, and does it tie into your previous album?
It's a sequel. It's a direct sequel to Dark's Descent and Darkest Nights. So, to kind of give a summary of Dark's Descent, because that's kind of the best way I can explain it as a sequel, is Dark's Descent is obviously about a character named Dark who it kind of has like a cliche that it starts off with, which is like, oh, he sells his soul thinking that he was going to be something great, and then he descends into an abyss called the Void. However, when he goes through the Void, he kind of has like this complex about himself, where throughout the whole thing, obviously you expect that okay, he's drifting through the Void, he's gonna like realize what he's done wrong, right? He
Mhm.
doesn't. Instead, he only just blames the situation and he puts himself as a victim. So, in Dark's Descent, he goes through the cosmos, right? Vomited out by the void to a servant of the devil in this new world that's kind of like a typical fantasy, if you will. It's got like its own cosmic balance of gods and devils and whatnot, and he's just stuck in the middle of it, right? He's a world devourer, and he has to constantly eat worlds that the gods just can't take care of anymore. And it gets boring for him. He wants something different. He wants to change the system. So, um, his enlightenment, in quotations, leads him to Darkest Nights. And Darkest Nights is basically, I'm gonna kill everything. I'm gonna burn it all down. So, Darkest Nights is basically there's a lot to it besides just the story. I kind of use like this fun little simple fantasy story of like a guy that's trying to destroy the cosmos. But a lot of it, I would say, has a lot of personal aspects. It's kind of like a metaphor of things I've struggled with,
Mhm.
where vanity and pride is a huge theme. And it leads to really dark roads, especially in Darkest Nights. Um, I make I don't hide the fact that there's a lot of graphic, dark topics, like abuse and assault. And these are things that I want to highlight in terms of what turns someone evil, like truly evil. And I didn't want to be like on a preacher's box, like, oh yeah, this is like, you know, I wanted to be fun, entertaining, and something that people could mosh their heads to, or just find something cool about it. But at the same time, like, if they really cared about the story or whatever is about it, they could actually look at it and then start thinking about it and start kind of digesting it. And once they start digesting it, then, well, if they want to keep going down the rabbit hole, they have to reconcile a bunch of things. Thus being, okay, well, this fun dude that I was like moshing my head to, he's a really fucked up guy. And he's saying that he's kind of like this hero, victim, whatever, but he's really fucking not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's doing some really horrible shit to people that love him and serve him when they're just kind of like a tool to him, you know? Um, so I would say, without really spoiling too much of Darkest Nights, that's pretty much the gist of Darkest Nights, is that he's fully taking his plans into action. He's doing whatever it takes. And at the end of it, all I'm going to say is that he got his enlightenment, but not in the way he thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Um, but if you don't really, for those listening, if you don't really give a fuck about the story, it's just a bunch of crazy fuck shit I made that I think you'll have fun with. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you like experimental metal that like dips into hip hop or whatever, you might enjoy Darkest Nights and Dark's Descent altogether.
All right. So, what are like some of your favorite lyrics off of the album?
Oh goodness, definitely some that uh people might. I'm gonna preface this real quick by
Bro,
saying,
fuck it.
uh,
Fuck it at this point.
yeah, okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
There's one line where I think it goes something like, "Fuck your whores and fuck your gods and fuck everyone." Um, wait, what's the line?
Um, fuck you all, fuck your virgins and fuck your whores, I'll fuck them.
My girlfriend's more of a fan of my music than me. Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, so basically that line right there, fuck you all, fuck your virgins and fuck your whores and fuck your gods. I'll fuck them all.
Mm-hmm.
Down into the pit, or I think it's down into the hole where I came from. And that's followed by another verse I did. This is actually my favorite one. Whereas what's a beast to a god? Nothing but a mistake. Um then I would say I'm debating between certain lyrics from Deicide from Dark's Descent, and I want to say In the Long Night, which is the first track off of Darkest Nights. Okay, okay. You know what? I'm gonna reconcile this. I'm gonna compromise by saying a different line from Love Wished Away.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I just want to say lyrically, Love Wished Away, for anyone that kind of wants to, I guess, quote unquote, know about me. That's like the one really, really, really personal song that I kind of put a lot of myself into, is Love Wished Away from Dark's Descent.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that my favorite from that is, I think the line goes, I'm just thinking of the line real quick and like organizing it together, because I vary the lines within the choruses, but it pretty much goes like, okay, so here's the lines. It's, so I will give you this, lip to lip I take a bite, and as I bit him down, I had him here, had him fight my horde, had him fight what I needed. Even though I took his deal, I was too selfish that and it cuts into the chorus. In my head, I called out to the Jinn. I confess, found me at the bottom, found me at the string where I was born, and he cut the fucking cord. So, I butchered that a lot. But basically, that line right there is there's a lot of symbology in that, but Jinn is probably the coolest fucking thing that you could look up. So if you don't know anything about Jinn, I'll just explain. Jinns are kind of like the actual origin of genies, and they're more like what a jinn in, I think, Islamic mythology is. They're literally like more demonized versions of a genie. Genies are like the angelized versions, like more like, whimsical and happy and, benevolent. Yeah, no, Jins are like evil bastards. They're like fucked up people. Like they basically, they're the type of spirits rather, or entities that they purposely give you something to tempt you and then they ruin your life. They just ruin your life. There is no, fucking whatever Robin Williams. I don't remember the genie, but the one that Robin Williams voiced in Aladdin. Yeah, that motherfucker ain't. That's not a Jinn. Okay, that's a genie. A Jinn's more like, a person that is gonna take you away. And there's some cool stuff about Jinns and kind of like the logic that the old mythologies kind of play around with that I'm not gonna really spoil because again it kind of goes into more of like what the song is mostly about or what it actually means. But in Love Wished Away, the big hint I'm gonna give you is that the title is very literal and that it quite literally is the protagonist going through the void and having whatever he did to sell his soul away, what his wish actually was. Because the whole time he kind of forgets what he even did to bring him where he was.
Mm-hmm.
And he wished an aspect of his humanity away that he can never get back. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what is your process for making music? Do you need to like actively be living life in order to come up with new ideas, or does it just come randomly to you?
It's kind of both. I want to say it's both. I used to just freestyle shit, and that's definitely what I still do now whenever I'm like just making rap music with my homies or whatever. But when I'm like making my concept stuff now, I have to experience life or I have to put something and materialize it.
Mm-hmm.
Um I can't do what I used to do when I was like making American anime with Saksu or like, the fun shit with Musin. I could do that. I still do that for like, like I said, my homies. But in terms of what I want from my own music, like if anyone really wants to know like what defines my music, I would say those two albums and the new EP I made on my birthday, Sins of the White Hair. That's just the shit I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's a work in progress. It's definitely some shit that not like when people look into, oh yeah, dude, I listened to this guy from like this guy's collab, whatever. This guy's fucking hard. Let's listen to his shit. They're gonna turn it on. They're like, what the fuck is this? Because it's like completely different. Um, but that's what defines me, is those sounds, like kind of like more of the sounds that actually dig into more challenging things like ambient soundscapes, literal like 8-bit inspired OSTs in between songs that might be 4 minutes long, might be 13 minutes. Fuck you, Relive, um, and other shit. Um, and if you're confused, Relive actually made me do a whole 13-minute sludge metal song as the climax for Darkest Nights, and that he thought that I wouldn't do it, but I did. So fuck you.
Jesus Christ.
Um,
How hard was that?
yeah. You could literally hear my voice give out, I think around the 12 or 13 minute mark, literally, like, cause it basically goes from like this long song of me just screaming, then comes like a monologue section, then I go back to screaming, and there's a part where I'm literally just heaving and hacking through a scream, just, and like just coughing through it. I'm like, I don't care. I'm leaving that in. This is the climax. This is what I'm going through.
Mm-hmm.
This is the character. Doing it. So yeah, that was a long tangent. Let me go back to the basic topic. But basically, yeah, it's a lot more of a huge process now, and I like it that way.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I don't know how well that's done in terms of like getting me out there. I think it's just kind of done two things. I think it's done one where people hear about me, they don't know what to make of me anymore. Two, um, there's a huge divide where I think you either get the people who are really weird, like a handful of people that really fuck with my shit,
Yeah.
that really supportive, really amazing people that they relate a lot to the detriment that I literally get to this day voice messages from people at like 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. And then, by the way, it's not like a lot of people. There's like a handful, like maybe 2, 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But definitely some people who like just fucking send me nonstop voice messages giving me like conspiracy theories of what the fuck the album is about. And like, have you ever like answered a math question right but had the wrong method? That's kind of like what a lot of these people have, is that they got to the point that I was trying to say, but in like the wrong way. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're halfway there, you know. You got the answer, but I don't know. So there's those people, and it's definitely the people who are like, yeah, dude, just fucking rap about how like just rap, just brag, bro. I don't want to fucking listen to like this deep shit. This is fucking boring.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, I mean, to be honest, I'm still debating on if uh, I wanna, because what I might do, and this is just something. Again, this is not all solid or whatever. I might at some point, definitely with projects, I might start up like with a band or whatever, have more focus on that as kind of like a gateway for more serious stuff, and then
Yeah.
just kind of have my stage namesake be for, simple stuff. But this is kind of a process I knew I had to take in terms of my mental health spiritually and just like where I wanted to go. I wanted to just not be hype beast shit all the time. I wanted to actually dig into something that I knew at the end of the day when people actually look at what I did, or like, I don't know, they fucking, let's say we die and like 10,000 years later there's like fucking big pinhead monkey men that find a flash drive of my shit. Like, this is the music that I would want them to remember me as, kind of ordeal.
If you were to describe your music in one word, what would it be?
Um, that is a good fucking question. I would say, well, 2 years ago, I would definitely say satire. That was before I did the concept stuff. Now that I have done the concept, I would say, um, there's like two words I'm debating between. It's either dramatic or I would say weird. But one of those two, I would definitely say weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the biggest inspiration I got to dive into concept stuff wasn't even anything that I thought I would get into because of, like, I I grew up with Coheed and Cambria. I grew up with like metal bands like System of a Down, Tool, obviously Duran Gray, or I guess it's Duran Gray, with what some people are telling me. Listen, I'm American, I can't help it. Um, but that actually didn't help me finally get into my concept stuff. What got me was Januscus from Spider Gang,
Mm-hmm.
and if Januscus ever sees this, I don't know if he'll ever, but um, I want to thank you because pretty much he was probably one of the few artists to this day that, even as like years have come by since our last interview, I still haven't met a single person that even matches the craziness that Januscus kind of encapsulates with,
Mm-hmm.
his experiments, like with his projects like Identity Crisis, Urq, his recent stuff that you're gonna say I suck, but I haven't even been able to check out yet. But yeah, I think that Januscus and just how bold he was in putting himself out there, and then just seeing how like he still is consistent to like this vision and like this very visceral portrayal of himself. That's definitely something that I admire deep, and that's to me what a real artist should be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that's what finally pushed me to the edge of like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna make my own shit. I'm gonna be whatever weird shit that I am, and I don't give a fuck if people have a problem with like the juxtaposition or like the whiplash of, okay, this guy could like rap a couple bars about like this or that and have fun with it, but then I go to his shit and it's just like fucking weird, ambient, violent,
Mm-hmm.
just insane sounds.
Yeah. All right. So, fuck. Who are like some of your favorite artists in the underground right now?
Besides Januscus,
Yeah.
well, in the scene, um, I'm a very big caveman. I like to isolate myself from a lot because I think that when you spend too much time looking outward, you kind of just subconsciously borrow if you're an artist. and that could be in a lot of bad ways. It could be in a good way in terms of like learning marketability and all that good stuff, but I gotta keep to myself mostly. I don't really know what is the biggest hype thing in the underground anymore. But what
Yeah,
I can say
it could
is
be
that
like any friends that you're working with there. It doesn't have to be like mainstream
oh,
underground people.
Revenge of Paris. That's my fucking homie. Revenge of Paris, Remy Rotten, um, definitely Scarlet Brides. Scarlet Brides just started releasing music again, and it's fucking hot, fire as fuck.
Hmm.
Beautiful shit. I would say Michael Riccardi has some dope ass shit. Um, obviously, obviously my boy K.XXIV.
Hmm.
You know. I would say I gotta call that guy now. I gotta run up his number for like at least another 2 hours again. I gotta say man, ah, okay. This is I don't want to be too biased, so I'm gonna think of someone that I am not that's not in whatever I'm doing. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try.
Hmm.
Hear me out. Okay, Jaleel.
Yeah,
No,
Jaleel. Like it took me a little while to realize who you was talking about.
yeah,
Jaleel.
Jaleel.
Yeah, I really
No,
like Jaleel
no,
too.
dude, unironically, Jaleel is on some crazy shit. I have never met anyone or seen anyone like Jaleel. That is like, dude, I didn't even believe that was his real voice until I
Yeah.
saw like that Genius interview.
Yeah, his face does
That,
not match his voice whatsoever.
yeah, I know. And like
Hmm.
his psychotic stare, everything about him, it's like, dude, this guy is about to kill me in like the most wholesome way possible. He's about to do like a yoga pose with my skull, dude.
He's gonna
I
kill you
love
with
it.
positivity.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like for real. Yeah. So Jaleel, um, honestly, I said it before, and I know like this is still kind of a biased thing because like, oh well, it makes sense because you mentioned whatsoever Januskus.
Hmm.
I really didn't get into Spider Gang until just recently with their new tape Spider Gang is over.
Yeah.
Um, holy fuck, man, I was sleeping on so many motherfuckers, bro. Especially with that song Liar. Have you ever
Hmm.
heard that song?
No, I
Oh
haven't
my,
actually checked out some of their new stuff.
dude, that shit is beautiful. I literally, that's like my fucking cope song. That's like my heartbreak song right there. Is
Hmm.
Liar.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I would say that, and I would pretty much say, I mean, yeah, he's still underground. I was gonna say, I don't know, he's kind of like, no, he's still underground. I would say J Big Mafia is still number one to me in
Yeah,
terms of like underground.
yeah, he's very much underground. Like not, like I'm pretty sure if you
Yeah,
ask a
it.
random person on the street, they're not gonna know who you're talking about.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
definitely true. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are some of like your favorite songs by him?
Oh, but definitely Hazard Duty Pay, dude. That
Hmm.
song is stuck in my fucking. There's a fear of the nightfall. Ah, dude, that sample is so clean.
Hmm.
Dude, I remember when it first came out, and it was so fucking grueling and agonizing because he couldn't get that sample cleared, so we had to have a version of the album without Hazard Duty Pay until just recently he actually was able to release it on Spotify and all that. And dude, that was like the one song that was a bop. That was a bang. And like I love all the other stuff from his last project, but yeah, Hazard Duty Pay, Jesus Forgive Me, I'm a Thought. Um, yeah, that's a real song title, man.
God.
Rainbow. I want to say Rainbow Six. Um, Panic Emoji. Uh, all caps, no spaces. And I want to say, oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Thought Tactics.
Hmm.
Those are really good songs. I really love Thoughts.
So would you say like he kind of like influenced your sound in any kind of way?
Yeah, JPEG influenced me to actually start being a lot more flamboyant, I guess you could say, with my rap. I just stopped giving a fuck about trying to be big and tough about shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's actually kind of why when I first started making music, like American anime and all that stuff, like with Saksu initially, um, I was purposely just goofy, very cartoonish. I even had like that really, really sus song, "Pussy Bitch," um,
Do you look back
where
on
I was
some of those
basic.
older songs and you cringe, or no?
Some of them I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was actually more so. I think the first ever EP I made, Crimson 7, was pretty cringe to me. There was like a couple songs I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. Like Reject Relapse, Vile Hate with Me and Musin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Joy-Con, I've accepted whatever. Some people like it. It's whatever. And the rest is just Avidya is okay. The first track of Avidya is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just kind of weird and too. Even for me, I'm like, this is just melodramatic as fuck.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but American anime at least has a good saving grace of self awareness. Uh, so I definitely leveled up in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like I said, I just stopped really trying to do that stuff and just wanted to do more of like the concept stuff. And I think actually doing concept work and going from there um, helped a lot because it pretty much helped me find ways to really think about what I wanted to rap about when I did other songs and collaborations like Vice City with Remy Rotten or Back for Blood with Remy Rotten,
Mm-hmm.
Rotten.exe. Um, but then there was just songs that I could just have fun with, like Colors of Madness with Revenge of Paris, which is the fucking one of my favorite songs ever I've ever made with Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I would say in general, JPEG has influenced me a lot in terms of just how to rap with my voice better and just kind of attune more to tonality and cadence. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what are some of your goals for the future?
Um, well, I definitely want to actually try to keep putting out stuff. At some point, I want to have a lot of eyes still, trying to find ways to grow ears to the last two concept albums. I don't know if I really have anything planned much for solo releases, but I do have a startup group that I'm still trying to, just play around with
Mm-hmm.
and then just put out there. I could tell you for a fact that it's me, Remy Rotten, Paris, um, definitely Michael Riccardi, Brandon Hollers. Um, what the fuck? I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Did you
I
hear
heard
that?
it a little bit. Wait. What's that? What was that?
That was no, that was my girlfriend's phone, man. She's looking at sus stuff all the time, bro. I have no
Oh.
idea. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot of those homies. We have like kind of like a group thing going on at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably, I mean, if you tune in my stuff, I'll announce it. Beyond that, voice acting, still. I'm gonna be trying to kind of gather everything, finish up all the stuff in the Fallout modding community and the Sands of Slumber RPG game, and then as I put that out there, I'm hopefully gonna audition for paid gigs and see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and next week, well, actually this week, I'm gonna be at a convention selling some of art from Myelinated Brain because Myelinated Brain makes some really dope art, and yeah, you should go check them out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, their Instagram handle is it Myelinated underscore Brain?
It sure is.
Okay, there you go. You got it right there. So yeah, I'm gonna be at a convention for the first time ever. I've never been to a convention, so this will be dope, and I get to
Mm-hmm.
sell art. Um, and then in terms of other goals that are non-entertainment related, I don't know. I want
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
If
I
you
want to
want to
be
say
growing a
them.
garden.
A garden?
I'm gonna be doing a garden. Yeah, I'm gonna grow out a garden, bro. I gotta start growing a garden for my vegetables, man. Vegetables cost like up to $56, bruh.
Hmm.
This is ridiculous.
So what made you want to do that? Was it really like the vegetable
Um,
costs getting higher?
well, that actually, yes, it is.
Hmm.
it's literally that I don't want to spend that much money, and also, I don't know. I just think that I grew up with a lot of my folks who, they always had green thumbs, and I really didn't. So I was like, okay, fuck it. Let me just try to see what I do. So there's actually a couple plants that I help grow on occasion whenever I'm out and about that I realized, oh, okay, it's really, I could do this. It's not that difficult. If it looks all grangly and like there's like dead whatever, I just take that out and just regrow it, whatever. Um, Definitely, I'm gonna pace myself and not try to grow stuff like lettuce because lettuce is like the most, from what I researched, difficult fucking thing to grow.
Hmm.
It's like constantly attracting vermin and diseases. So yeah, definitely gotta keep away from that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just want to like do something productive and just kind of like attune myself to nature and the waves, man, and just really feel myself in the trees with my thumbs in the dirt and my dog shit.
That's crazy. Oh my god. All right. So last question.
Yes.
What is
Yeah.
like a message you want to leave off to the viewer?
Okay. Okay. Dude, I can imagine like when you're trying to promote this on your page or whatever, you're gonna just have so many fucking samples of just me fucking with you. Just like, who the fuck did I interview, dude? What the fuck? Okay. Alright, let me cook. Let me cook. Let me cook. How can apples be apples if you take the cord out of the okay, okay. Alright, let me rest in, rest in peace, Jaden Smith's career. Alright. So I love Jaden Smith. Alright, so the real quote is when it comes to being whoever you want to be in life, understand that you are constantly battling two sides of yourself, the avatar of what you think you should be and who you really are. And somewhere, no matter what in life, you're going to come to a crossroad where you could take the easy way and you could take a lot of leaps and bounds to get to that avatar and chase it high. It's gonna make you feel good about yourself because, oh yeah, this is where I've always wanted to be, this guy, da da da. But it's a high that you're never gonna stop because you're always gonna be chasing it and it's always never gonna fulfill you. Whereas if you at least accept the corny, goofy, somewhat, deranged or whatever version of who you actually are, yeah, you're gonna have some problems. You're gonna have some sad days. You're gonna think you're a loser at some points, but you're gonna feel a lot more better in your own skin, and you're gonna definitely not be as burdened with just trying to be something you're not. And I think that's kind of like the biggest thing I've learned a lot in my years. It's just all the times I was chasing a high versus who I really was.
How did you kind of like get over that?
I don't think anyone ever gets over that. I think there are times where people are just okay with themselves.
Hmm.
And I think there are times where something kind of prods at them a certain way, like pokes at them and they feel insecure. They kind of hide themselves for a long time or just a little while. And I definitely think that those things happen to me. Like here and there, I was like hiding myself. And only like obviously now am I comfortable, but there'll be times where it comes back. There'll be times where, I might act a certain way and think, yeah, this is me, bro. This is who I want to fuck you. But really, that's just someone else. Like who you are right now, whether you're at like a fucking trailer or like you're on your mom's couch and you're however years old and you don't have like anything going for you, you gotta appreciate those times and who you're spending that with because that's yourself. That's you. You know what I mean? If you can't appreciate those times with yourself, how are you gonna appreciate yourself when you actually get quote unquote successful?
Hmm.
Because yeah, you're gonna have all that material, but look what happens to people who are depressed that have access to all that shit. They fucking do drugs, they do a lot of shit, and they basically kill themselves a lot of times. Um, there's a lot of unhappy rich people in this world, as there are a lot of unhappy poor people. The problem is not whether you're poor or rich. Obviously, physically, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about what made you that way to begin with and having to kind of try to, reconcile with that. You got to take care of your own messes. Nothing can ever take care of that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good message to lead them off with, man. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so
Oh,
fuck. No, continue. Say what you were saying.
no, I was just gonna say, by the way, shout out, shout out to obviously the homies I've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shout them out real quick. I want to shout out Scarlet Brides. I want to shout out Paris, Remy Rotten, Michael Riccardi, Thighcore Kid. I want to shout out obviously Myelinated Brain, Musin. I want to shout out Relive Reactions, Pale Blood. It's PVLE Blood. I don't know why the fuck they do V and X's. And do 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 do. Oh my goodness, my brain. Shout out K.XXIV.